Welcome to another episode of SAVAGETIMETV. TV. I'm your boy, A.B. Brisley, and today I have special guest Gregg Pritchett Jr. with me today. How you feeling?
Hey, AKA the MVJ Warrior.
Yeah, AKA the MVJ Warrior, AKA also known as the Professor. How you doing?
I'm good, brother. How are you?
I'm good. I'm happy to have you on finally. I've been trying to have this for a while. I appreciate you coming down, blessing the platform. For the people that don't know, for people watching, where are you from?
I am originally from Wilmington, Delaware. I spent some time out throughout Philadelphia, but knew my roots were here, so brought my family back here when they were ready to grow up.
Okay. And tell me about how Wilmington was like. How was it growing up out there? It definitely was different to the Wilmington I'm used to. So could you tell me how it was different?
To be honest, I grew up a good time between Wilmington and Newcastle. Born in Wilmington, high school years throughout Newcastle. But it was growing up, I was a very independent kid. And learning how to take the public bus, going into the city, shopping, stuff like that, man. Like, for a while it was just me and my mom till my sister was born. So I kind of like knew how to do those things, man. And like if there was a babysitter, my mom could tell me, take the babysitter down to Wilmington, get some groceries, I'll give them the money, but I knew the bus routes. You know what I mean? So it was like,
that's crazy.
I could walk up and down the street 5, 6 years old and not have to worry about a thing, man. Shoot marbles. You know what I mean?
Shoot marbles. Man.
Like,
that sounds
70s was lit, different. Man.
Hell yeah, that's what they say. When I watch a documentary, sometimes I feel like, man, if I could be like 20, so if I could be like 15, 16, and it looked like the 70s was, wow.
Beautiful.
It looked like it was a time in where everything seemed probably, I don't know, peaceful or balanced, or I don't know.
I feel like life was better balanced. I mean, having that time to sit down, dinner time with your family, Sunday morning cleaning, Motown records, man.
Shout out to Motown.
It was it, man.
Yeah, it always sounds like we now, my generation, it seems like, I mean, we romanticize the past, but it looks like people were just more interconnected. Yeah. It's kind of crazy now with all the digital stuff. Coronavirus, everybody knows. Finally, it's kind of letting up. It's been ravaging everybody for the last about year. Could you tell me how coronavirus affected you, your family, your work for the last year?
Well, that had some good and bad. The good things is I feel like it brought my family closer together because we were able to go back to having dinner together and cooking and things like that, not have to go out to eat and try to find something quick. Like, we had time to really get into our health and nourishment. But the bad thing was it almost stopped me from being able to connect with my business. I went from 125 students down to 11. And
when I joined, it was about 20, 25.
It really, that part really kicked my ass. Like, I had no way to bounce back mentally until I was able to open up those doors. Like, I was getting depressed and it was just kind of shutting me down. And the thing that I had going for me was being able to go camping, hang out with my family, and I got married.
Okay, congratulations. I haven't gotten to that step. It's a little wild, but definitely congratulations. Let's get right into it. Why martial arts?
When I was a kid, I got bullied. Like, I can't say bullied, but I shot marbles, and I was very good at it. And we used to play for candy, coins, whatever. And I was the youngest in the group, and the older kids would beat me up and take the money and the candy back. So my uncle was a 4th degree black belt in Shotokan, and he kind of brainwashed me. I think I was 4 at the time because I remember turning 6, but he kind of brainwashed me because the kids was like 6, and he was like, well, you 6 too. You know what I mean? You can do it too. Like, you better fight back. And he would give me little ticks and tacks with the martial arts, and I really started looking up to him because I didn't know how good he truly was until I started to see those things. And then we had black belt theater. We had all these different martial arts movies and stuff that came on.
Yeah, that's another thing, 70s and 80s. Yeah.
And it just kind of grew on me. So, like, it became a part of me. So I started to train all the time. And my uncle introduced me to some folks that did some kung fu, but they did more of it was more fighting based, less forms and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, you know, going out to Philadelphia and boxing and doing Muay Thai and stuff like that, man, it just became a part of me. I was a professional Sancho fighter for a short time. I had a long career as an amateur. I had over 70 fights as an amateur, 4 fights as a pro, and it was amazing. Still to this day, I never thought that I was going to make a living off of it, though. I never thought that I'd be a professional martial artist, that would be the way that I fed my family, because I always wanted to be an electrician, get into electrical engineering, stuff like that. And I did do those things, but during a time that I was laid off, you know, I was given the opportunity to do a few things that involved martial arts. One was bail enforcement. The other was teaching kids. So I got one where I could actually use my martial arts training, you know, to continue to protect myself and to adhere people, but also to give what I was doing to the young children and watch them grow and have aspirations to be as good or if not better.
Okay. That's definitely a why for sure. Chinese kickboxing. I've heard you talk about it sometimes when we were in the gym and talk about your past experience with Chinese kickboxing. Could you tell and kind of enlighten us, one, what is Chinese kickboxing? The difference between that and just, you know, regular kickboxing?
Chinese kickboxing, Sanshou or Sanda, they call it, is translated as the art of free fighting. The art of free fighting is a lot like what we look at as MMA. The difference between Chinese kickboxing, MMA, so forth. Chinese kickboxing is punch, kick, throw. They started to incorporate some knees. In some outfits, they incorporate elbows. So it's a lot like, it was Chinese answer. It was China's answer to Muay Thai. So there was a lot of Sanshou versus Muay Thai fights that you can find as well. I can't say one is any better than the other. They're very different. Mm-hmm. But there's no ground fighting. So you punch, kick, throw. When you're taking down or you're thrown down, it's stopped. You're brought back up, and then it starts again. Okay. So to me, it was the closest thing to a real fight that didn't involve ground fighting.
Okay. Yeah, I'm about to say, it sounds like just about everything you can do except for like being on the ground and wrestling. Okay. Your first KO fighting, first time you knocked somebody out. Could you tell us about that and how it feel?
I've had a lot of KOs, and I don't know if I can exactly remember the first one, but I'll tell you about a couple of them.
Yeah.
There was a time where I fought. We learned to fight on both sides. So there was a time I had an injury to my left arm, and I fought the fight as a southpaw, and I knocked someone out with a jab. Now, through the time that I kept hitting him, you threw both hands and kicks and so forth. It was just this time he just stepped forward, and I missed the first jab, and I went for the second jab and just stuffed it. And you can see his eyes go back in his head, and he fell down to his knees, and his head went low. And it was kind of like he was praying.
Oh, God. No, I say, man.
And, that was beautiful, but it was more of an accident in my eyes, because it was really setting him up with the jab. Mm-hmm. I wasn't trying to hurt him with the jab. Now, there was one where I was getting ready to go into the professional arena, but it was one of my last amateur fights. And I was a little heavy. I was teaching a lot of students. I was a little heavy. I was about 180 pounds. And I was trying to get to the heavyweight, although most of my fights were at 160 and lower. So I had to do this thing where it's this huge weight division. It's like 175 to 205. And there was a guy who was 250 pounds that was the only one in his division. So they put him in our division. And that was my first fight. And this guy, I remember thinking he was the size of Lennox Lewis. He was 6'5" and 250 pounds.
Jeez.
And when the first round started, he swarmed on me. I couldn't even get out of my corner. He just came over and he was just pummeling me. And I remember just thinking, Let me find an opening. And I had an opening where I hit the right body shot, and then I came with the left body shot to the liver, and he backed up. When he backed up, I knew he was going to come a little cautious now because he was hurt a little bit. So when he came, he threw a front kick, and I pushed that front kick aside, came over with an overhand right, and dropped him, and that was the end of the fight in the first round.
Wow, I'm about to say 6'5", 250. That's a big guy. For sure. And you knocked him out with 3 punches. I know that probably felt away for sure. Like,
oh,
man.
I was just happy it was over.
Like, yes, like, okay, he's done.
I was really just happy it was over.
Okay, cool. When and why did you make the transition to MVJ?
To MVJ, as far as what my business was prior?
No, I mean as far as when did you make the transition to learning? When you went from Chinese kickboxing to learning
to modern jiu-jitsu. Mm-hmm. So the coaches and instructor that I had did modern jiu-jitsu, and he used to talk about it, but he didn't really teach us modern jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
I later found out why, but excuse me, he gave us some of the foundation, like the break falls and the movement and stuff like that, but never really got in depth with it. Well, the head of this system, the heir of the system, Dr. Robert Evans, the Grandmaster, he was looking for some people to teach to carry on the legacy of the system. And that instructor recommended me and one of my colleagues, my brother Musa, Master Musa. So that instructor and I weren't on speaking terms when this happened. So I heard Grandmaster's voice and his voice at our facility when we were in the back. So I'm thinking, damn, are they coming to kick our ass? So it's like, yo, brothers, come on up front. And he has this deep voice, very strong New York accent. And it's like, and this brother, like Grandmaster, he's half German, half black. So he was born in Germany. His mom's German woman. No joke. His father's big, tall brother, like Big Joe, is no joke. And he has every characteristics of those two and more. So when he was calling our name, we were like, oh shit, what's going down? So it was like, what's up? He said, come on up front. And we peeking around the corner, and we see the instructor that we wasn't really in speaking terms with, and we see him. And this, he let us know that he was really just trying to talk to us and see if we really wanted Jiu-Jitsu. And so, to be honest, Jiu-Jitsu found us. And it was something that, like, when I started learning Jiu-Jitsu, it, to me, was everything I thought I was learning. Like, all the concepts and all the principles was something that I thought I was learning. When I really, when I realized that I wasn't learning those things, it just amazed me. It was like, yo, I need this. Like, there was things that I was doing. He was like, yo, don't do that. Like, this is going to get your ass whooped. And I didn't have my ass whooped before, but I saw how I could. And then when I had to defend myself in the street at times, I felt like sometimes it was a struggle. Now, I never had my ass whooped, but maybe one time. And that was one that I accepted because I had another guy pointing a gun at me. But I was like, these things I thought I was learning. And then after learning those things through some years and then having to defend myself, my God, it was just so easy. And I was like, yo, I'm doing the right shit. You know what I mean? So stuck with it.
Okay. All right. Who are your influences, and who do you look up to and has influenced you when it comes to you as a person, and also when it comes to martial arts?
Well, I didn't have my father really there growing up, and at times that made me really bitter. And I always tried to have a relationship with him. And then his brother, my uncle, I tried to have a relationship with him, and like the way that the men or those men were in my father's side of the family was just something I knew I didn't want to be like. And I always encourage people to even if they don't have their mother or father, you know, around and they're alive, get to know them, because you'll at least know what you don't want to be, you know. So that was somewhat of an influence, but I had uncles around me that showed me different things about what a man was. And then meeting Grandmaster Evans kind of just put more things in perspective. Even though I was already grown, I made a lot of mistakes growing up, but those things kind of helped put things in perspective to show me, you know, better business, being a better father. And then, you know, accepting Islam was something that was really, really important to me. And I feel like that that bridged the gap for me to becoming a better father and a better man and understanding.
Yeah,
So
that's okay. Yeah, let's say Islam. That discipline. That's discipline, discipline, discipline. It's definitely gonna teach you that. For the people that don't know, what is MVJ?
MVJ, modern Vjitsu, is the lethal aspects of the Vjitsu Jiu-Jitsu systems of systems. Now, modern Vjitsu teaches you how to get to your firearm, teaches you how to get to your weapon, and sometimes by the time you get there, you don't even need it because you done beat them down.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's some of those combos I've seen you guys practice. I'm like, well, you're probably not gonna need to do anything after that.
Yeah, it teaches you essentially how to break down the human anatomy, and whether you're using your hands, blade, stick, or firearm.
Okay, all right. Yeah, so for you guys that know, go there. Definitely something you would like to learn, or I feel like everybody should know for real. Like after MVJ, I think when I was thinking about it, I was like, man, I hope you like I see your business acumen is definitely it's definitely where it needs to be. But I was like, man, sometimes like I feel like MVJ could be something that could be taught
Yeah.
nationwide, worldwide.
So,
You know what I
we
mean?
don't want to water down Vjitsu, and we feel like we're probably the only dojo that has modern Vjitsu in it. Like everyone else teaches it in a club, and you have to be vetted and vouched for in order to get into that class. So others teach, like I told you, if you went to Atlanta, you'd be learning in a brother's home. You know what I mean? Or you would get together with one-on-one with that brother. It's not done openly. Like the reason why you saw the Vjitsu going on is because you stuck around at the end of class, because that's done at the end and we lock the doors. We don't really show people exactly everything that's going on. Like you'll see little things on TikTok and the videos here and there, but it's not like the it's not the real raw stuff. I mean, you ain't gonna see us pulling a gun out and going through the rolls and working on the blade and stuff like that. Like
So it's almost like it's more it's like secret, really, kind of not secret, but it's. I see what you're saying when you say watered down, because it's like if you for example, if you just let every state have someone, it's gonna get diluted.
Exactly.
So, okay, and you guys want to preserve it as much as you can.
Indeed.
Okay, yeah, I understand. I respect that. I definitely respect that. Biggest hurdle you've had to overcome as a martial artist.
As a martial artist, it's different because as a martial art, I'm a professional martial artist. I was a fighter. I'm an instructor and I'm a coach. So I've had downfalls in every aspect. As a fighter, I've had injuries, of course, or fighters pulling out of fights, and that you've trained very hard for. As a coach, that's happened to some of my students, and also as a coach, like you build a relationship with some of your students and some of your fighters, and then their selfishness or their somewhere in their downfall may cause some tension in a relationship. Not training hard enough, head getting too big, all different types of stuff there. And then as the business aspect, things like the coronavirus or just this has never happened, thankfully, but like outbreak of MRSA or something like that, and I've seen businesses have to shut down or close shop for a little while for things like that. But thankfully, we've never had that. Like the coronavirus is definitely the worst thing that's ever happened to us.
Okay.
Dealing with having different instructors in the past may come through, and like we had an instructor that was not an instructor but a coach that came through to help with boxing. There's an alcoholic, we had to get rid of him.
Oh my.
Things like that.
Okay, all right. Most difficult weapon to learn and why?
Most difficult weapon to learn. Most of the weapons we use right now are very practical. If you look at the Chinese martial arts, I mean, every weapon is a separate system in itself. So I think that's very difficult to do. The stances are all the same, but one of the reasons why I always felt that traditional martial arts wasn't the end all when it came to self-defense or practical martial arts is because those things are very they're very broad when it comes to, using a quandal, a pudal, a staff, a spear.
I'm about to say, what's the staff that's broken up in three?
Three-section staff.
Yeah, that.
Those are just fun.
Three-section staff. There you go. Nothing crazy, just three-section staff. Okay, okay.
There's a two-section staff, a staff, long staff, short staff, three-section staff.
Yeah, I saw y'all messing with that three staff. I was like, that looks like something you could probably knock yourself out with.
That was my favorite show-off weapon.
Oh, okay.
And my son he always mimicked things that I did, so it was just natural for me to teach him that weapon.
I'm about to say, y'all be, because at first I was like, oh, if I twirl it a little bit, you know what I mean? But I was like, oh, he's really, I'm like, okay, he can defend himself with that. Like, oh my God.
I wouldn't say that. I mean, maybe one person, but that thing bounces back. You crack somebody, that thing's
cracking back.
Yeah, it's
yeah, I feel you.
It's not practical. I'd rather just take one section and beat you in the head with that stick.
Good. Why become an entrepreneur?
Control about how much money you can make.
Yeah.
So as an electrician, as a apprentice, the apprentice is given the scraps. So if there's scrap metal, wire, stuff like that, you're given that so you can take to the scrap yard and make some extra money. And I was working in a hospital, a Christiana hospital, and there was about a good 100 feet of aluminum piping that was filled with copper wire that was about 1 inch thick. And it was like 3-4 wires inside of each one of those pipes that was 100 feet long, 1 inch thick. A lot of money. So the foreman says to me, you got to get that all out today if you want it. If not, it's getting trashed. So I went next door where a bunch of the Mexican guys were doing demo. I speak Spanish. I asked these guys if they want to make some money by helping me take this down, putting it in their steak body truck. We're going to drive the steak body truck, unload it. I'll give each one of them $500.
Oh, so that's a lot of money you was getting.
Yeah. So it was 5 guys. I gave them $500 each. I still came home with $1,800. So the foreman says to me the next day, you got all that out? I said, yeah. He said, got all that in one day? I said, yeah. He said, how'd you get it out by yourself? I said, I didn't do it by myself. I asked those guys to give me a hand, and I paid them to do it. He says, man, when you got control about how much money you can make, you really work hard. And I was thinking, I don't really work as hard when I know that I'm only getting $20 an hour versus me being able to make several $1,000s. So that sparked my mind as I need to find a way to have control about how much money I can make. So I got into sales.
Okay. No, that definitely makes sense because I can relate to that. When I was in the military, I was like, I mean, yeah, it seems cool when you're 19 and join. All right, I'm making this money, but then it's like, oh, I can literally only make this much, and then they're gonna either kick me out or.
I worked for this martial arts school. I fought for them, and then later became the head instructor. But during the time of becoming the head instructor, they asked me if I wanted to be a program director. I said, well, what's entailed being a program director? Well, it's sales. And I was like, I don't know if I really want to do that. And then I asked the person who was the salesperson, how much money you making? I make about $500 a week. He says, that's not enough for me. I need about $1,000 a week at least. And he said, well, it's possible. He said I made an extra bonus check once, $1,000. So I started looking into what he was doing, and he started training me to what he was doing. I just took it on another level. And I was bringing in so much money. It was and then by the time I was ready to open up my own, I was like, I got this down.
Yeah. Entrepreneurship is definitely, I think everybody should at least look into it for sure. Not everybody can be an entrepreneur. It's hard.
Well, it's important because when I first started, I was a slave to my business. I might as well be working for someone else. But as learning how money works, learning how credit works, and learning how business works, it brought me out of that hump, and now I'm serial entrepreneurs.
Yeah, definitely. I like that, man. Let's see here. As a black man, do you feel there's more pressure on you to succeed in your entrepreneurships and your businesses?
I don't feel that there's more pressure for me to succeed as a black man. Mm-hmm. I think it's more pressure for me to succeed as a man but for me to be able to pass it along to others as a black man. Because what's important as a brother, man, is we don't educate our community to be able to replicate or do better than what we do. And I think that that's the important part as a black man.
Okay, definitely. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Like we were saying before, it's being able to pass things down, and you were talking about some people in your family, some being able to have that, being able to give your children or other people that head start is very, very important, especially us being black. What's the most important aspect to running a business to you?
Being successful, me being able to give my children something that they don't have to kind of be beat down or put down by someone else. Like, it's something that they can help build, and that's very important to me. Like, my son and my oldest son and my second oldest daughter both work for me, and or I can't say work for me, they work with me, because they help build what we're doing. And one day, I'm going to move on or retire, and it's going to be theirs or whoever they hire, but they'll know how to run that business, and that's very important to me.
Okay, yeah, man, I respect that. I definitely respect that. Why do you feel it's been? Well, it looks. I'm not gonna say it has been. It looks like it's been easy for you to adapt to the digital age, because usually sometimes you see, definitely now, older people that are a little more older, they sometimes struggle to adapt and don't really hop on the social media.
I got you.
But why do you feel you've been able to make that transition?
Well, one, I'm not older.
Well, older than me. Well, older than
So I'll tell you, my generation has been a generation that has seen it all. We've been there before cell phones. We saw cell phones. We saw the internet start. We saw the internet prevail. We've seen it all. So we've been there before, during, and as it's moving along. So we've been able to adapt. And I feel like your generation couldn't live in my generation's start. And I feel like the generation before me can't live in your generation. And I just feel like we have that generation where we've been able to see so many different changes. And I've been able to keep up because that's just part of my generation. It's part of what we do.
Okay. What do you enjoy most about teaching? What do you enjoy most about the teaching aspect of martial arts?
Martial arts teaches you who you are. It gives you a way to challenge the fight that occurs between your heart and your mind. So it gives you so much, and I'll give you an example. You're asked to do something that's very difficult for you, and your mind is like, fuck this. But your heart is like, I don't want to give up. And there's a fight that occurs in you. So in martial arts, your biggest adversary is you. The person that you have to look at every day is the same person coming right back at you. So that's your biggest fight. And I feel like martial arts bridges that gap and teaches you a way to deal with life and the spirituality and the physicality of it all. So you can take those concepts and adhere them into your work, with your family, in the ring, and on the street.
Okay. What surprised you most about entrepreneurship? Maybe took you off guard at first?
How much work it is. I thought that when I first got into running a business for myself, I felt like I could run a business and fight full time, no problem. I had 5-6 kids at home. I had a wife at home. Dealing with the everyday struggles of making sure money comes in and stuff like that just took a lot of the drive of training and competing away from me. And that was probably my biggest struggle.
Okay. And how did you overcome these hurdles that you've had, especially with entrepreneurship?
My generation, man, we adapt. We adapt, able to do those things because we are always looking to do better, always looking to move forward. And I always tell people, man, when people hear push forward, keep moving forward, they know that came from the MVJ Warrior.
Yeah, that's definitely true. You definitely have to keep pushing because there's definitely times you don't. Matter of fact, there's a funny. There's a quick story, real quick. There was a time you only did it one time that I've been there, but we had to do these bear crawls around the mat, and I'll never forget. I'm doing the bear crawls, and there was a point where I like skidded my skin or something. And I was like, "Yo, I'm bleeding and stuff." I'm like, "Yo, what is this?" And it was like you said, like my body was like, "Yo, what are you doing?" It was like, "Yo, why are you doing these bear crawls? You're hurting yourself." But my heart was like, "Yo, I gotta keep going,
Mind tires before the body.
Yeah, so like it definitely it's definitely that fight. Martial art definitely makes you have that fight. Switching it up into mental health. What does mental health mean to you, and how do you keep your mental health, up and up?
Mental health is a very serious and important subject. I know growing up, I dealt with a lot of anger. I just wanted to crush things, just wanted to beat things down. But I learned that me dealing with that I needed to be in a weight room, I needed to have a punching bag, and I needed to have somewhere to unleash that and let it out. So growing up playing football, moving on, wrestling, the martial arts, I always did something physical to get that out. And sometimes when you do that, you're able to come back to whatever frustrated you and come back with a clearer mind of thought.
Okay. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. This is a great interview. I just want you guys to know this is an awesome interview. I like it, man. I like it. Switching from mental health. What are your goals for the next couple years? You as a person growing the business.
Well, my own personal goals really lies within my family. My goals are, I'm 48 now, so I want to start to build, which things I should have started earlier, but I want to start to build more things to be able to pass down to my children. And I want to teach them more about enjoying life. Where before I was always about never taking a day off work, always staying, diligent on your craft and this and that. Where sometimes you need that break. Sometimes you need that reset. My son just had a birthday. He was like, I don't really want to work on my birthday. And at first I was kind of like, I don't want to work all day. But I was like, you know what? He needs that reset. Let me give him that. My daughter was like, I want to go to Puerto Rico for a week. I'm like, you need that reset. And I noticed that when they come back, there's a different sense of energy, a different sense of urgency to give and see that progress. So, I want to be able to teach my children that we got to enjoy life as well.
And where can all your new fans follow you at? Find you, and where's MVJ for the people that say?
We are all over social media. So MVJ Athletics, you can find us at MVJ Athletics on Facebook and Instagram. MVJ Athletics is 705 Dawson Drive, Newark, Delaware. Come check us out. Now, me personally, you can find me at MVJ Warrior on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. MVJ Warrior is something that I've always been a warrior, and then transferring over from Sancho to MVJ to modern Jiu-Jitsu has just become a part of me. You see it all tattooed all over me and all that. So I started a new podcast called The Real Fight Club Radio. I'm going to be getting back onto that, just building some content, getting that going. So you can also find us on Instagram at The Real Fight Club Radio and on YouTube.
Okay. All right. Well, this is Savage Time TV again. Thank you for blessing the platform. It was great to have you. Been looking forward to it. This is your host, A.B. Bridsley, and again, Gregg Pritchett Sr., also known as MVJ Warrior. It's another episode of Savage Time TV, and we're out.